Chris Benoit, monster or victim of brain damage? Chris Benoit was one of the most respected wrestlers of his time. He would even rise through the ranks to become a world champion. And that's because Benoit was known for his technical skills and his passion and dedication to the art of wrestling. But then in June of 2007, an unpredictable and unthinkable tragedy would occur. Benoit would take the lives of his wife Nancy, his 7-year-old son Daniel, and then he would proceed to commit suicide, taking his own life. The entire wrestling world was left shocked and horrified, wondering how a man so respected and so disciplined could commit such a brutal act. But what if I told you the man who committed these acts may not have been the same Chris Benoit we all knew? Chris Benoit didn't care about being flashy. He wasn't a big talker. But in the ring, he was an absolute beast. He had trained in the infamous Hart Dungeon under the tutelage of the famous Stu Hart, before heading out to sharpen and hone his skills in Japan, followed by the whole world. Chris Benoit would quickly gain a reputation for his intensity and his technical skills, and of course, his toughness and ability to take punishment. Whether it was flying headbutts, steel chair shots, or collisions with a concrete floor, these are things Benoit would endure over and over. You see, back then in wrestling, few people talked about or even knew about the seriousness of brain trauma. But that doesn't mean these blows don't have an effect, and it doesn't mean they don't add up. CTE is a brain disease caused by repeated blows to the head. It is most commonly seen in NFL players and professional boxers, but it can also be observed in other athletes, such as professional wrestlers. CTE can cause memory loss, mood swings, depression, and violence. And in the later severe stages, like those of Chris Benoit, it can even lead to a total personality change. The worst part is, it can only be diagnosed after death, where the brain can be removed for study. This is exactly what would happen in the case of Chris Benoit's brain. After the tragedy, it would be sent off to be studied by top researchers in the field, and what they found was absolutely shocking. Researchers said his brain resembled that of an 85-year-old Alzheimer's patient. They noted severe damage, particularly in the areas of his brain that control empathy, impulse, and judgment making. They stated that his brain was so degraded that it most likely influenced his behavior in his final days. His brain was effectively broken. Those closest to Benoit would say in the years leading to the tragedy, they began to notice a change in his personality. He had become increasingly paranoid, withdrawn, and obsessive. They would state it was almost like he wasn't even the same person anymore. Then would come a tragic, heartbreaking event, the death of wrestling icon Eddie Guerrero. An event that would devastate the entire wrestling world. But even the fans could see that it had truly, completely shattered Chris Benoit. Eddie Guerrero was Chris Benoit's best friend, and the only person that Chris would ever truly confide in. Those closest to Chris would say they don't believe he ever fully recovered from the loss. When you throw in the years of steroid abuse, physical pain, a failing marriage, and a brain that is slowly losing its ability to properly function, you start to see the storm that is starting to build in the darkness and in the silence in the head of Chris Benoit. Here's the question that's hard for us all to ask. If Benoit's brain finally broke and turned him into a different person, one that he couldn't control the thoughts or actions of, is he still the same person? And should the person he used to be viewed as the same person who committed these acts? While his physical body undoubtedly committed these acts, medically and mentally, it's 100% possible that his brain had finally broken, taken him over, and turned him into a completely different person. This doesn't excuse what happened, but maybe, just maybe, it can help explain it. After the tragedy, the WWE would ban unprotected and unscripted chair shots to the head. They would bring in increasing concussion protocols. They would even start to test for brain trauma. But it took a tragic event that claimed the lives of 3 people to bring about this change. I wonder how many other athletes are suffering from the effects of brain trauma out there, and we don't know about it, and we may never know about it. This video is not an attempt to excuse or justify what happened. That would be 100% impossible to do. But CTE and brain trauma are silent, invincible monsters, and by the time they show themselves, it's often already too late. I think it's very important that we learn to accept and understand these things, so that we may be able to learn from them and attempt to try to keep anything like this from ever happening to anyone else ever again. At the end of the day, the only person that truly knows whether or not Chris Benoit was responsible for his actions that night, or whether brain trauma had finally caught up with him, is Chris Benoit himself. And he can't answer that question, so we will never truly know the answer. But what do you all think? How do you feel about CTE? And do you think Chris Benoit was the only monster there that night? Or do you think there was a second monster lurking somewhere in the depths of the dark, one created by brain damage? Please let us know what you think down below. If you liked the video, please click the like button. If you enjoyed it or found it entertaining, maybe you learned something, please consider subscribing, where we hope to bring you more captivating and interesting content just like this. And please be on the lookout for more WSR Wrestling in the future.